The other day I heard a big-shot climate scientist, I won't mention his name because he's suing me for $1 gazillion, but he was bemoaning the way that ever since this COVID thing came along, nobody's been panicking about climate change because sea levels in the Maldives in the 22nd century don't seem quite so urgent when a new scary variant is about to come sweeping in from the South Sandwich Islands and get us all cowering before its amazing asymptomaticness. The end of the world is way more nigh than that guy boring on about melting ice floes is saying. It's a very competitive market out there for phantom monsters. When the end of the world is nigh, we all have to make sacrifices. In Wales, the so-called government has forbidden Welshmen from going to the office and only permits them to go to the pub. Hundreds of thousands of hard-working Welshmen who'd far rather be putting in a hard day's work at the call centre for the Climate Change Pre-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Helpline are now having to spend their days pretending to enjoy a 15th pint in the saloon bar every night. But what if not the end of the world, but just a serious deterioration in your world is about to descend? The cost of natural gas has skyrocketed, and China is snaffling up more and more of it at whatever price. And come April, when your heating bills start dropping on the doormat, you're going to be feeling that. That's real, in a way that Omicron piling up mountains of the dead in every suburban cul-de-sac is not. The question is whether real reality still has any salience in a world where prime ministers and their so-called scientific advisors are all wearing sandwich boards saying, "Repent ye unvaccinated, the world ends at midnight." And that's midnight Beijing time, so you may already be dead. In defiance of Oscar Wilde, ours has been a world which knows the value of everything but the price of nothing. We're all about values. What's the correct attitude on transgender bathrooms or deforestation? But the Bank of England has looked at prices and found that British companies are planning to increase theirs by 5% this year. That may be a tad optimistic. What do you reckon inflation will be by April? 7%? Matter of fact, do you know what the word inflation means? If you're under, say, 55, you've never had to deal with it as a factor of life. And we're not talking about Weimar Republic, Deutschmark-filled wheelbarrow inflation, just soul-sapping 1970s disco-era inflation. And even if you are old enough to remember it, you don't remember it quite the way it's going to be for you now. If you were 23 in 1977, inflation meant things you wanted to buy being too expensive. Half a century on, it means the fruit of a lifetime's labours are worthless. Your pension doesn't quite cover things anymore. That retirement cottage you'd set your heart on, your savings account, is now 50,000 shy of what's needed. And the interest rates on any debts are going to be a lot higher than you've been used to. On the other hand, if you're 23 right now in 2022, it also means imported goods are going to cost more. And if you turn over almost any item in your house and look at the label on the bottom, you'll find that far more goods are imported these days than ever were in the Britain of the 70s or the Germany of the 1920s.